Oh, Jeff.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Pam.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and welcome to Gigi in the 561. I really appreciate you taking time out to be with us this evening. It's evening for me. Listen, everyone.
It's kind of evening here too, so I'm ready. But thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Good. Jeff Koz, along with his sister Roberta Koz, are co-owners of something you people are going to want to know more and more about, even though we've written about them already on our website, northpalmbeachlife.com. You need to hear what this man has to say, because when the tagline of a company says, taste the cookie, not the cannabis, I have your attention now. So,
I got a chuckle there.
Yeah, the cookies and the candies that we're going to talk about, they're not what you may be used to, everyone. So, thank you again so much for being here. And I can say firsthand that I thought I had really eaten Snickerdoodles that I loved so much until I ate Dr. Norm's Snickerdoodle cookies.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to take all the credit, but I do have to shout out my sister and partner Roberta, who is the baker and recipe designer, and she has channeled our mother. I know we'll get into the story of Dr. Norm's in a little bit, but my mom was quite the prolific baker, and so we started our whole journey based on our mom's original chocolate chip cookie. And as things grew, Roberta kept going back to the drawing board and finding new flavors. So she's really tireless and really a perfectionist and does not rest until it's perfect in her mind. And so the Snickerdoodle, it's a gluten-free Snickerdoodle, I might add.
Oh,
so,
that's really
So it does not taste gluten-free, and it is my favorite cookie that we make. So we agree on that one.
They really are.
It's yummy.
Yes. And it's like, how can this still be so soft? I mean, it's fantastic. I just loved it, as well as the jelly beans are wonderful, and all the products are I can really, really recommend them. They're wonderful. But I love the name of your company, Dr. Norm's, because I love how you got this thing started, honoring both of your parents.
Sure. Do we have a few hours? Because this is a long story.
Take as long as you want.
I will try to be brief because we don't want to put anybody to sleep here. But so it's named after our dad, who was Dr. Norman Koz. He was a dermatologist. We grew up in the San Fernando Valley in Southern California, in L.A. And our mom, Audrey, was also in the healthcare world. She was a hospital pharmacist. So she had a full-time job in a hospital pharmacy and raised 3 kids. I don't know how she did it, actually. She was definitely ahead of her time in those days, because women didn't do that. So she was amazing. And in addition to all that, she was a baker, a very passionate baker. And she baked these chocolate chip cookies that were to die for. And everybody knew her and of her cookies, and she would go, they were like her calling card. Somehow she always had a batch of chocolate chip cookies in her car, so she would arrive at somebody's house or whatever, and she's like, Pam, I want you to have a plate of these chocolate chip cookies. She'd know your name, she'd know, and if you had one somewhere else, she'd be like, oh, I remember, Pam, you enjoyed my cookies, here's a plate. So she really spread her goodwill with her cookies, amongst other things, but we'll keep the cookies front and center for this discussion. So she, was sort of an angel walking earth with her cookies, and I'm not exaggerating, because people, really adored her. And she passed away rather unexpectedly and pretty suddenly in 2005. So my sister Roberta had a long career at MTV Networks. She had left shortly before that to become a full-time mom for her kids, who were getting a little bit, in school-age years, and she wants to do that. So she decides, after my mom passes, that she is going to have a legacy for my mom and learn how to bake her chocolate chip cookies. So my mom, of course, did not leave a recipe behind.
Oh, no.
But we knew that she started, this is, I don't know if I should say this on a podcast for the public, but she started with a Betty Crocker cookie mix.
Uh-huh.
So that's not a good thing, okay? This is like, that's a dark family secret that I'm letting out of the bag here.
Oh.
So she, that was her. So Roberta, I believe, started with that also, and kind of reverse engineered the cookie, and lo and behold, she made an amazing chocolate chip cookie that tasted exactly like our mom's. So, and then she eventually phased out the Betty Crocker mix and did it all with homemade ingredients.
Wow.
So she learned how to bake, never baked a cookie in her life, and decided that she would take this and start a little online business. So I was in the music industry for my whole life, composing and producing music and performing a little bit here and there. So I used to give her cookies to my clients for the holidays or for birthdays or what have you. Dave, my brother, who you know very well, Dave Koz, this world-famous saxophonist, used to give his cookies to, Roberta's cookies to his record executives and all that. And just a slight aside here, Dave, actually my mom took credit for Dave's success because she used to give her chocolate chip cookies to all the radio promotion people. So
what a mother. Oh, wow.
And all the people at Capitol Records. So they knew her as well as they knew my brother. They knew her from her cookies, and so she thinks that, his sax playing was pretty good, but it was the cookies that kind of put him over the top.
The real deal. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so Roberta, wanted to continue that legacy, and so she started making the cookies and started selling them online. That turned into a cookie company called Cookies for a Cause. I guess I'm telling the long version of the story here. Just tell me to shut up.
Please do. No, please don't shut up. No.
Long-winded. So Cookies for a Cause, Koz, and that is because she partnered with the Starlight Foundation, that my brother is a global ambassador. Wow. And so Starlight was a beneficiary of the cookies, and she got them into Gelson's, which is a local chain in Southern California, and Home Goods, and also Bristol Farms. So, but this was her sort of first round, and she hired this consultant who told her that she needed to create a shelf-stable cookie. So they were nothing like her homemade cookies. And, she brought them to me and said, "What do you think?" And I, it's your sister, and you have to be polite, and she got her into Gelson's and all that. So it's like, oh my God, Roberta, this is amazing. But the cookies were just not as good as the original homemade mom's cookies. So, but she did okay with those, but ultimately it was not a success with the stores, and she sort of folded up that tent, but kept doing it online, and maybe a year later, she got a meeting with Whole Foods and made her homemade cookies again and brought in 8 different flavors, including red velvet, I think 3 or 4 different shortbreads, chocolate chip, white chocolate chip cranberry, and blew them away. They were like, "Oh my God, these are amazing. We want to order these from you, but you're doing it all wrong. You can't do this whole shelf-stable business. What we want you to do is bake them fresh, freeze them. You sell them to us frozen. We put them in our fresh section. We, thaw them out basically, and we sell them next to like our Whole Foods chocolate chip cookies that we make in store. Oh. So you don't have to compete in the cookie aisle either." So thus, the second round of Roberta's Cookie Company was born, and I got involved when I found out that Whole Foods bought them. I have a very entrepreneurial streak. I was in the music industry, as I said, for many decades, doing music for television and film and records, and I worked a lot with my brother in his early years. And so I helped her with branding and marketing ideas. And so one of the first things that we did, and she hates me for it still, but I said she had to change the name from Cookies for a Cause to something that was catchy, that people, because Cookies for a Cause, it was sort of that, there was a beneficiary, a cause market, being the Starlight Foundation, but it was very hard to understand that. So I convinced her to change the name to Audrey's Cookies, which was our mom's name. And so she actually eventually loved that idea. And Audrey's Cookies was born. And so we were in Whole Foods. Roberta is an amazing salesperson. So she got Audrey's Cookies into Sprouts, into Stater Brothers, Vaughn's, Albertsons, Costco.
Oh, wow.
Quite a large distribution. But she also was a bootstrapped company and just didn't have a whole lot of money for marketing. So here she is competing, in these amazing retailers, but competing against brands that have huge marketing budgets and, and people out in the field doing demos, and so we did a lot of that, but it was very hard to compete, but, kind of holding our own. And it was 2015. Are you asleep yet, Pam, or are you still with me?
I am loving everything that you're saying. Please don't stop.
This could be the most boring story ever told.
It's not, believe me. No.
Okay. I'm a little self-conscious.
Don't be.
Okay. 2015, she turns to me, I think we were in her kitchen, and says, as a joke, we should do weed cookies, Jeff. And she's laughing. And I said, Roberta, this is an amazing idea because it's 2015. 2016 is coming, and California is voting to legalize cannabis. And we all knew it was going to pass, and so it was being, very much talked about. And I said, I think that's a great idea. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to do this. And she said, good luck and have a nice day. I'm not interested. I have a deal with the Starlight Foundation. Starlight cannot find out that I'm making cannabis cookies, which I think actually they would have probably loved it, but that was then. So she said, I'll teach you how to make the cookies. You can do your thing, but I'm not in. So I learned how to bake these chocolate chip cookies, and I'm going to town in my kitchen. And I at the time in 2015, the cannabis industry was it was very mature in the on the illegal side, or the sort of legal, because it was a sort of legal business in California, but it was not. There was no oversight. There was no government regulation. Mm-hmm. So it was very collaborative in those days. And so I could go to a meeting or a breakfast or what have you and say, tell people what I'm interested in doing. And they're like, oh, you should be so-and-so, and you should be so-and-so. So, in pretty short order, I had a source to find the oil to infuse into the cookies. And I was off to the races. And I had found this marketing company that has since grown into a huge company. But at the time, they were very excited about the idea. We decided to do them as mini cookies instead of a big cookie. And I brought Roberta to this meeting at the marketing agency that I wanted to sign with and have them help launch the brand. And she stands up about halfway through the meeting and she says, I'm in. I'm 100% in. This is amazing. Because she saw the opportunity. Because it was like getting in. The guys at the marketing agency said, you're not on the ground floor. You're on about the first floor or on about the second floor of a 100-story building. You're on the second floor of this cannabis industry. So she got a whiff of like the potential here. And she also saw the writing on the wall with Audrey's Cookies that she's competing against frickin' Pepperidge Farm and Nabisco, who spend, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars advertising. Right. And it's pretty big ocean to compete in. So she saw that this was a much smaller pond and that we had a really tangible idea and a great product. So now Roberta's in as well. So fast forward, we honed our product and we used to go door to door to the dispensaries with our cookies and say, do you want to, I should also mention that, we had a different name, and I spoke to a trademark attorney who told me that you're going to be fighting people over your trademark because it was a pretty generic name. And they said, you need to come up with something original. So we both, sharpened our pencils and we're making lists of names. And I'll remember this too. I was at my office, my music production company, and she was driving, and I called her up and I said, hey, I've just got all these names. And, I was thinking even like a person's name, like Steve's Cookies or Nathan's Cookies or whatever. And I even came up, I said Norman's Cookies, our dad's name,
Right.
Norm's Cookies. She goes, what about Norm's Cookies? I said, what about Dr. Norm's Cookies? And it was like, boom. It was like one of those things where you say it, and then you get the hairs on the back of your neck, rise up. Yep. So we both knew that was it. So Dr. Norm's Cookies was born, and I don't know where I'm going with this whole story, but so we started selling them. I will, unless you want to ask me a question or something, I'll say also what our mentality was when we decided that we wanted to do this. We looked at what was out there in the market. So, now we're talking about cannabis edibles. So these are cookies that get you high, for those out there that don't know what I'm talking about.
Explain it. Yeah.
Oh, well, they're infused with THC.
Yeah.
And so it's basically with marijuana or cannabis, you can smoke it. You can take it as a liquid tincture. You can ingest it as an edible, which would be like a cookie or a brownie or a gummy. And now there's a million different products.
Yeah.
And so this is the edible version of cannabis. And so we tried different edible products out there, and we couldn't believe how bad they tasted. So your basic edible at a store, there were these very funky, dark stores, and the edibles would be wrapped in saran wrap with a sticker on it.
Oh, lovely.
And it really did not look safe. And so we're just like, man, there's got to be, this could be so much better. So we couldn't believe how bad they tasted. So number one, with Dr. Norm's, we set out to make a really great tasting edible. So we knew our cookies were great tasting, so how do we make them? So we found this stuff called distillate, which is a distilled version of cannabis oil. At the time was outrageously expensive, and it was very new and very hard to get. But we came across some, and we tried it in our cookies, and it was amazing because you didn't taste that cannabis taste. Mm-hmm. So that was number one, was like, we were on our way with we're going to make a great tasting cookie edible cannabis product. Number two was, in those days, they were very, 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 very strong, very potent. And say you would buy a cookie at one of these stores, a cookie would say 300 milligrams or 500 milligrams, and you didn't even know if that was correct or not because there was no regulation and really no proof of lab testing or anything. So you're sort of on your own. So you would break off a piece of a cookie, and you have no idea what you're getting in terms of your milligrams that you're taking. So being children of a doctor and a pharmacist, we're like, this doesn't make any sense either. It's like when you take a Tylenol, you take, it's whatever, 200 milligrams are in a Tylenol tablet. Right. You don't take 16 of them. You take one because that's how it is. So we thought this makes no sense, that you could run the risk of, and everybody has a story about cannabis edibles where they took too much and they didn't know it, and they wound up on the floor for 2 days, and they said, I'll never do it again. Yeah. So we decided that we wanted to kind of proceed in the face of all that and say to the public, we are all about responsible dosing. So we wanted to make, instead of a big cookie that you broke a piece off and had no idea what you're getting, we wanted to make responsibly dosed cookies. So we went with a mini cookie with a precise amount of THC in it, so you knew exactly what you were getting. And we coined this phrase, which we trademarked, called know your dose. Right. So we're sort of preaching to the public saying, be responsible. You wouldn't believe it. You ask people, so what do you take? How many milligrams do you take when you do an edible? Nobody could answer the question. They're like, I don't know. I just sort of break off the piece. And so a lot has changed since those days, since it's become legal and recreational and there's oversight with the government. It's a whole different ballgame. But, back then we were a little bit ahead of our time, too, because we were taking a really different cut at it. And so we came out with these low-dose cookies, which nobody wanted to buy because they weren't very potent, but they were dosed per cookie. We had know your dose. We had a delicious cookie. And so those were the humble beginnings, and we started to sell those door to door in 2017. And I'll stop now. And that's sort of the chronology of Dr. Norm's.
Well, I think for me on your site, you make that very clear, know your dose. I have that pretty big in my notes here because it is crucial. It really is very, very important in the fact that your site is it's very pretty. Your packaging is, packaging. It's all very inviting. Your the photo that you have of you and Roberta with the, the products there, it's all very, very inviting, but it's also very informative. And when you read it, we'll talk about how to get to your website and stuff, but you feel like there is such quality involved in all of this process of this product. But you can't really go to a store now, is that right? And you have to go. You don't really have a brick and mortar, is that right, for your products now?
So and let me make a distinction too. So we're a cannabis company. So our products, and we're only sold in California on the cannabis side, because you have to be a licensed cannabis manufacturer with the state of California, and you have to have a manufacturing local license. Ours is in Los Angeles, and then you have a state license. And so we're a manufacturer, and because cannabis is still illegal federally, but it's illegal basically state by state, whichever state chooses to legalize it. So, but we can't, I can't sell my cookies in Florida, for example, without going into business with a Florida manufacturer, license holder. So they would manufacture our cookies for us using our recipes and all that. They would market it, they would sell it, they would go to dispensaries, basically duplicate what we've done in California. Yeah. That's how it has to work right now. So, so we sell our cannabis cookies in California, but we also, and I think you were referring to this earlier on, we got into the CBD market.
Yeah.
CBD is also a cannabinoid, which means it's a distinct compound or chemical that comes from the cannabis sativa plant. So THC is the cannabinoid that gets you high. Mm-hmm. CBD is a prominent cannabinoid in the plant also, and it doesn't get you high, but it has a lot of very healing properties. Amongst other things, it's great for pain. It can really help you with sleep. It shrinks cancer cells. It lowers your blood pressure. It calms you. It works on depression, anxiety. It's a long list of benefits of CBD. THC has a lot of health benefits too. So we really wanted to be able to bring our products to more people. So we set up a CBD business alongside of our THC business, and that business at this point is not regulated. So we're able to sell off of our CBD website. We can sell to the whole country. So on that website, we sell not only our cookies, but we have a whole line of products, some that we manufacture, some that we work with manufacturers, and we give them our formulas, and they manufacture them for us. So you mentioned our jelly beans. So we have CBD jelly beans. We have caramel chews. We have 5 flavors of our cookies. We have hemp pre-rolls. We have tinctures. So there are the drops, the CBD oil drops that you can take. We have them also in a sleep tincture with melatonin. So we have a whole suite of CBD products, but it's a totally different business model because you can go to the website and buy direct from us. And we also sell to stores regionally so that, you can buy our products in, actually not a lot of stores, but we do have some stores out there that carry our products as well.
You even have something for pets, Jeff. It's an oil, I think, or it goes in their food. Does it go in their food, right?
You can put it in their food. Some people are adventurous and try to put it under their dog's tongue, but that's a little bit of an adventure for me. But yeah, CBD is, all those benefits that I mentioned benefit animals just as well. So they're great for anxiety, for digestion also. CBD is very helpful. So I'll just tell a very quick CBD story. So I was a little bit, first of all, I was skeptical of the medicinal side of THC. Let me back up to THC for a second. So we got into this business, I have to confess, it was more looking at the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that the fact that we wanted to, and I'm entrepreneurial and we wanted to do something fun and different, and there was a great opportunity. So we start selling our THC cookies, and we start getting emails from people saying like, oh my God, my back pain went away with your cookies. I take one every night before bed. Or, oh my God, my mother, I bought the cookies for her, and she's sleeping through the night now. Or I have cancer, breast cancer, and I have no appetite, and I started taking your cookies, and now I'm eating again. So we're getting because there are all these benefits to THC.
Yeah.
It is a medicine. This is a
Right.
plant that has very specific, significant medicinal value to it. And we really had no idea because we did not grow up in that world.
Yeah.
It was very much a recreational for me. Like I would, you'd get high and have fun. But I was never took it that seriously. When we started getting all this feedback from people, we're like, oh my God, we're really onto something. And it gave us a completely different sense of purpose because now we were doing something that was benefiting people. And we really didn't get into it knowing that as much as we discovered it. So it was like, wow. So, we started hearing a lot about CBD and the benefits of CBD also. And CBD, is not regulated, as I was saying. So we wanted to make our CBD products available. So we decided to bake our cookies with CBD as well. And then because we could bring out all these other products in a much easier way than you can do with THC, because with THC you have to pass stringent lab tests and there's a lot of R&D that goes into it and you have to manufacture everything. It's more complicated.
Yeah.
So we developed this whole CBD line and lo and behold, CBD really helps people too. So we feel very gratified that we get to do something every day that most of the time is fun. It's a tough business. I won't lie to you and say that the cannabis side, especially because it's so highly regulated.
Yeah.
It's so competitive. There's, it's sort of like the gold rush mentality. So it's, you can achieve something with your brand and then all of a sudden people want to knock you off your perch.
Yeah.
So, but we're very, very fortunate to be doing something that really helps people.
Well, and your perch is doing pretty well because if my numbers here are accurate, you have sold in I think 1 year 2.5 million of your chocolate chip cookies. Is that an accurate number for
the actual number of cookies?
Yeah, millions.
Probably.
Yeah. Probably
in the actual cookies. Yes, when it comes down to the cookie, we've sold millions of cookies. That's not units of product, but we've done okay. We're growing. We had a little bit of a setback in 2019. We got 3 offers to buy our company, like bam, 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 and we weren't expecting to sell our company. We were very new still, but there was like a acquisition fever, and Roberta and I we're not youngsters. She's turning. I shouldn't say this. She's turning 60.
She may not want you to say it.
She's turning 60 in March, and I'm 61. And so we're not, we've had other careers and we have grown kids. And
right.
I just lost my train of thought. Oh, about selling. Hold on. What did you say?
We were talking about that you had some offers to buy your company.
Oh, offers, right. So we got involved with this company that gave us a really great offer, and we were very excited about it because we were going to work for them. We had a back end that we were going to really build the company, and it turned out that they just weren't, saying they weren't a good fit would be putting it extremely generously. They all but destroyed our company.
Oh, no.
And so we got the heck out. But we really took a major dip in 2019. That's actually when we focused on our CBD. So we did build up our CBD side, but our THC side, they lost us probably half of our customers.
Oh, no. Ouch.
They're supposed to be building our business, and instead they absolutely torpedoed it. But we got really back on track in 2020. Had a really great year building it all back together. We came out with a bunch of new products. We've innovated. We've rebranded everything. So you'll see our new packaging, which I'm so excited about, coming out in about 4 weeks.
Oh, that is exciting. Oh, I can't imagine it would be any better. I love your packaging, but I can't wait.
It's bright colors. It's really fun. It's really going to stand out on the shelves.
You know what? I have to say that in 2020, I think in particular the last year, your product, talk about being needed to be where we all were, and we still are actually. Just for a lot of things. I mean, your mental health and just so much, so needed.
It's really COVID, as horrible as it is for a lot of sectors of the economy. The cannabis industry, I think, fared pretty well.
I can see that.
people are home and bored and need something to do, but also need to, it's a great, as you just said, for mental health.
Exactly. We're gonna circle back and talk about some more products that I want to ask you about. But
sure.
If you don't mind, if you have time, because I know you've had a really busy day, but I want to talk just a little bit about your music, Jeff, because there's a song that it's the kind of song that when you hear it, it's so it touches me every time I hear it. It's Lullaby for Isabella. That is such a beautiful, beautiful song. It's just it has a specialness to it that I really love. But you play guitar, and classic guitar is kind of your focus. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you talk about that just a little bit?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for picking that song out, because Isabella is my younger daughter's name.
Oh,
and she
love that
was
song.
a little munchkin at the time. I think are you talking about A Father's Lullaby, that
Yep.
record?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was an album that I did with Dave. And we co-wrote that song, wrote a couple other songs together, and we were actually nominated for a Grammy in 2003. 2003, God, that is so long ago.
That is so cool, though.
So it was Lullaby for Isabella, who is turning 19 this month. So in 2003, so she was like 1 year old when we wrote that song. Hence the name Lullaby for Isabella. So that song is very, very near and dear to me. And
love it. Everyone go to iTunes right now as soon as we finish and buy that song, because it is heaven. Go ahead, Jeff.
You can go to Spotify and stream it for free too. It's okay. We don't mind.
Okay.
It's a different world now. It's all about streaming.
That's true. That is
but
true.
Thank you. Thank you for the plug. But it's a important song. And I do play nylon classical guitar on that. A lot of my music with my brother Dave. Over the years, I really got into it. Just seemed to fit really well with the smooth jazz sound that he creates. I play that guitar on a bunch of songs with Dave over the years. And one more thing that brings it back to family is my dear mother, I don't think I've ever told this story, went to, I'm just having a moment here just like appreciating her, because she went to Spain and maybe another country with my dad and maybe another couple. They traveled a lot, my folks. She comes back to home, and I don't remember how old I was. She schlepped. That's a Jewish word, schlepped, meaning dragged around.
Yep.
This nylon guitar, handmade nylon guitar that she got in Spain for me, and brought it back to me. And it was a beautiful guitar, and it's a guitar that graced a lot of records and a million commercials that I wrote and recorded, and I still have that guitar. And
wow.
God bless her. Like, what kind of mother? Because it's not like she bought it and shipped it back. She bought it in Europe, and traveling with a big guitar in a soft case. I would think it would get broken.
Yeah.
God bless her. So anyway, that was
that is such a sweet story. That's so sweet.
Just shows you kind of her thoughtfulness. I'm just having a moment recalling that right now, because I hadn't really thought about that in a lot of years. So that was the guitar that I played. The
Thank
classical
you.
guitar,
Thank you.
And I love that style of music.
Well, I really do encourage everyone to go and listen to your music, especially the Blackbird was also is also a really, really, really nice song that you do.
And that's the one that was nominated for a Grammy with Dave.
Yeah,
we were nominated for Best Instrumental Performance. Dave has been nominated in that category 7 times. I was nominated my one and only time that year. And that year we were up against this guy no one's ever heard of called B.B. King.
Oh, yeah.
And who do you think won that year, Dave and Jeff or B.B. King?
Let me think.
I'll give you a hint. It wasn't us. So B.B. won his 1006th Grammy, and we were shut out. And Dave has been nominated so many times in his career and still has not won.
That's not fair. That's not fair. But I have
really
to tell you, I'm going to back up to the B.B. King thing. You guys are in really good company. You can't ask for better company than that. So to be in the category, yeah. No. So kudos, absolute kudos for that. Okay, let's come on back to your products, because I'm interested, and give me an update if you would, on the beverage enhancer. It's a syrup. Is that available yet?
Not available yet.
Okay.
We're working on a bunch of things right now. So that's one of them. We just actually spoke to our how do we call it? Not a manufacturer. I guess he's sort of a designer. He's a whiz. And so I'm going to get a little technical here, but we decided to make it a nano emulsified syrup versus a regular syrup. So it's much more potent that way, and it actually takes away the bad taste of the cannabis. So kind of like with our edibles, because it's such a concentrated amount of cannabis in a small amount of liquid, it tastes terrible. So you do everything you can to cover up that taste with flavoring. And we decided that we wanted to innovate a little bit. And this guy has that technology. He has a relationship with this emulsification company, which it's a whole like a three-way kind of partnership. But we're going to work with them, and so it's going to taste great, and it's going to be use it in a beverage, or you could take it straight, or you can put it on pancakes or what have you. So we're probably going to do a vanilla flavored one that you could put in coffee or soft drinks or water, and then we're probably going to do a fruit flavored one also. In addition to those, we're going to do this is Roberta's idea. I have to give her credit. A cold buster, we're going to call it. So it's going to be a THC based syrup, but also with CBD in it, and echinacea, golden seal, maybe some other herbs. And so it's going to be medicine and medicine, if you get what I'm saying. It's going, so it'll be, helpful for colds and flu and what have you. So we're really excited about that. So that's one product. But we're also, we introduced a brownie at the end of last year that has done incredible. So that's a chocolate fudge vegan brownie. So we're adding 2 more flavors. Now, going back to tipping my hat to Roberta again. So we have a peanut butter chocolate brownie and a blondie, which is a light colored, non-chocolate brownie that has little pieces of salted caramel in it.
Oh,
so
that sounds delicious.
That's good.
No.
And then we also are a company called MedMen. You probably haven't heard of them, but they're a very big a chain of stores in California, and we have a very good relationship. They're probably our biggest customer, and they asked Roberta has a good relationship with their head buyer, and they asked her if we would create a Rice Krispie treat, sort of in an old school, because the brownies and Rice Krispie treats and all that, that was like the OG, weed products back in the day. It's like you made them in your kitchen and you wrapped them in plastic and brought them to a party.
Oh, it's perfect.
So we're doing a chocolate, fruity, like a Fruity Pebbles, and an original vanilla. And so those are coming soon. And then we're also doing, we're doing salted caramels. So they're going to be 5 20 milligram caramels, so it's going to be 100 milligram in a really cute tin. And another very quick story on that is we found, so food manufacturing, we didn't know nothing about it when we got into it, and you sort of learn as you go. So to make something like caramels, to wrap them and cut them and portion them and all that precisely, you can spend a lot of money on food equipment. You could spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars finding machinery, probably multiple machines to do what you need them to do. Yeah. So she found this machine that was built in 1915. It's painted like fire engine red. It's made out of like iron, and it sits on the floor. And this thing it cuts the caramel, it portions it and wraps it and spits it out, and it's the loudest clanking piece of blah 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 that you've ever seen. Like, I came in and saw this thing, and I'm like, you got to be kidding. But we paid, instead of paying $500,000 worth. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It was like $30,000 or something, and we had to put some money into it to fix it up. But it does the trick. It's called Big Red, and that's how we're making our salted caramels, and they are delicious.
The funny thing about that too is that here's this machine built in 1915 that is still doing yeoman duty, still working away, and you can't get appliances today to last 5 years. What does that say?
No kidding.
Yeah.
And there's this specialty guy that, like, he sort of checked it out because it was sort of on the market, and he went and flew to look at the machine for us, and then he said, well, I think you should buy it, but it's going to need about $5,000 worth of work. It needs a new motor and blah, 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 blah. Sure enough, he fixed it all up, came out, showed us how to work it. So anyway, we're doing the caramels, and then we're doing the syrup, as you mentioned, and then I think there's a couple other things in the offing, but we're really excited because this has been a very productive. 2020 has been a very productive year, and 2021 is going to be really exciting for us because we're now branching into a lot of new product categories. And
that is all very exciting. Yeah.
So we want to really diversify because if you keep doing the same thing too long, they come nip at your heels, and then they do knock you off your perch. So you got to keep evolving and inventing.
That is very true. Would you tell everyone how the best way to get to you and to Roberta and to your products and to order?
Sure.
And so would you?
Well, sure. You go to a corner, your nearest corner intersection, and you say to a guy that might have long hair and a beard, you say, psst, psst, hey, where can I get some weed?
Can you fix me up?
That's the old days. No. Boy, but it's so funny because this industry has just changed. I'm sure a lot of your listeners do frequent these, cannabis stores.
Right.
And,
yep.
I haven't been to them in many states. I've been in, maybe 3 or 4 states, Nevada, Colorado, mostly on the West Coast. But it's amazing. Like they're like Apple stores. I mean, it is just, the bar has been raised so high, and the products look amazing. The way they're marketed and displayed in the stores. So it's like, it literally is a kid in a candy store. So, so in California, our website on our cannabis site is drnorms.com. It's DOCTORNORMS, spelled out, drnorms.com. And you can see our cannabis products there. And you can go there's a website called Weed Maps. And you can go on Weed Maps and you can see what stores carry us. We're in about 200 stores throughout California. And also there's a delivery service that delivers throughout California called Eaze, E-A-Z-E. So if you go to eaze.com, you can find Dr. Norm's products and you can have them delivered to wherever you are. They deliver all throughout the state. Then on the CBD side, you can go to Dr. Norm's, this time initials, DRNORMS CBD, drnormscbd.com, and that's our CBD website. So you can order directly from us. You can see all of our products and place an order. And what we should do, actually, is we should create a coupon code, as I'm thinking about this, for your listeners, so they can get a discount. So I'm going to make the coupon code up right now. What is your podcast called? What's the name of it?
Gigi in the 561. G-I-G-I. Mm-hmm. G-I.
Okay, so we're going to call it, let's just call it Gigi20. So it's going to be Gigi 20.
Okay.
And then if they go to drnormscbd.com and put in the coupon code Gigi20, then they'll be able to get 20% off their order.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
This is the first. This is inventing a coupon code live.
Oh my
on
goodness.
A podcast.
Wow, we are groundbreaking. We got a story about your mom with the guitar that you've never told, and now a coupon. Wow.
So now I have to remember to call my web person and say, create this coupon code before I forget what it is. So I wrote it down, Gigi20.
I got it, Gigi20. Okay, awesome.
Now, how is it Gigi if your name isn't Gigi, or is there a secret? Gigi?
Well, no, it isn't a secret. I have many nicknames. But Gigi is my prized name that I really love to be called. It's even on my license plate. It's my granddaughter calls me Gigi. So that was
how old is she?
She just turned 8. So yeah, she's beautiful.
So cute.
Oh, she really is. I mean, and I know, how we are about these kids, but we have one son and her. And that's it. And so, yeah, and there's nothing that I like more than to be called Gigi. So,
of course, yeah. That's our coupon code.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for that. But thank you so much for being here. Is there anything that you want to add that I have left out of our chat this evening?
I think we have covered it and more. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to blabber on about Dr. Norms and all this stuff, and I really appreciate it. I know my brother Dave is huge fans of you and your husband, and so I thank you guys so much for sort of adopting Dr. Norms.
Oh, absolutely. We're
related
huge fans.
to Dave Koz. You discovered Dr. Norms right through Dave's website, right? You discovered Dr. Norms. Is that right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. And I said, we need to know more. We need to know more. And so you have been very gracious to us as well. We appreciate that so much.
And you've
We're
been
big
awesome
fans.
to us.
So
thank you so much. I really enjoyed myself and really appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, like I said, I know you've had a really busy day, and so for you to take time this evening to join me has been wonderful. I'm very honored to have you here. And so to my listeners, I want you to go and find their website and use this coupon code. And always you can find all the information. You can find as well as on all the platforms, Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, many other platforms. You can always find the podcast at northpalmbeachlife.com. Don't forget that. You can also find the prior story that we have done about Jeff and Roberta and Dr. Norms. So you need to go there and read that as well after you listen to this great podcast. And there will be a page on the website for this podcast where we will have more information. We will have links there also to their websites as well as photos so you can see what they look like, Jeff and Roberta.
We never talked about that. We have to go through heavy Photoshop before we do that.
Yeah, I threw that one in there on you.
I had one other funny, as you're saying all this, I said, because you're saying, our podcast. This today was a podcast, a POT cast, not a podcast.
It's a I love that. That we may have to use that in the headline.
Yeah, that was very corny. I'm good for a corny pun.
I love that. Hey, I'm right there with you. So anyway, everyone, thanks for being here and thanks for listening. Gary and I appreciate it so very much. And don't forget, stay tuned.